Good morning, and welcome to Waking Up with Your Energy Guide. Jenny Erickson, complete with no showers, no hairdos, and just a look at what a Friday morning in my life looks like. I'm once again reminded of why I record this show every week. Just a chance to really dive in and understand what does it mean to be with yourself and everything that's coming up, to live intuitively. When you've spent a lifetime living linearly and logically, how do you change the game for yourself? You change the game by living from the heart and recognizing that all of this data you've collected, all of your intellect, is a part of your intuition. And I want to talk about the non-linear ways that we work. I think it's funny. I never know what the theme's going to be. And then I get on and the first thought that comes to mind, I'm like, oh, that's what we're talking about today. So we're going to talk about the non-linear way that life works when you start to embrace your intuition and how it actually moves faster, in a more accelerated way, in a more miraculous way. Whenever I say faster, I get a little bit of, you're not quite there yet, because faster it's a very linear human thing. We just move faster, right? It's about more speed, more power, more force. But true creative acceleration, like when you think of the breakthroughs in our marketplace, they don't happen because somebody did it faster. They did it because somebody did it smarter, right? Because they worked miraculously. And when you think, oh, I'm getting chills. Somebody needs to hear that today, that we are miraculous beings. Yes, whether or not you ascribe to religion or spirituality, thinking about things with that vibration, with miraculous behind it, allows you to break these norms, this idea that things have to be step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What if step 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5 were happening at the same time? What if you could bypass step 1, 2, and 3 because actually there's a whole different 4 out there. You're going to 6, and then 6 takes you back to 5 because you didn't need to go through 1, 2, 3, 4. So this morning, I get a message that my plants need me outside. And today we're going to talk a lot about how you receive messages, because I talk about it as in I got a message, right? I got a nudge, I felt this, whatever. But the way we receive that, or how we get to from point A, meaning I don't actually know what my intuition is telling me, to this point where you're like, oh, I got a message. It's not quite as like, doesn't work the same as our linear world. And so I want to explore that today, talk about how we move through the dark of our sensory experience that exists outside of the physical world that I can touch, see, feel, hear, right? That's really what we're doing, is learning how to navigate the unseen, navigate what's happening in our subconscious, in our body, and using what we do see, feel, touch, hear, our sensory inputs, to help us understand how to navigate the unseen world. And when we bring those two together, the seen and the unseen, that is when we start to really feel like we're led or we're nudged, and like there is all kinds of forces at play helping us move along our path. And no matter what decision we make, that whole universe is reorganizing itself. So that we can get to where we need to go through that. And yes, I get that that's a main character energy, but the reality is that the universe is a lot more nuanced than what you or I realize. So your main character energy and my main character energy can actually be co-supportive and co-creative. So we can be our own main characters and be in a much bigger ecosystem where all of our main characters can exist together. I had a client yesterday who had just a transformational experience. She was telling me that what's different about working with me is, she goes, I felt it from the first time I walked in the room. She's like, I worked with energy workers before, but with you, she's like, I could feel the electric static in the room. Like from the time we first started connecting, from the first time I picked up the phone for our first consult, I felt that energy shift. And it's been just a wave of unfolding since then. We had our free complimentary session, which I do for folks. That's one of the things that I believe in, is I want to expose more people to this work that haven't done it before. And so one of the things I do is I do a free consult. There are people that have I have had people say they've had such a transformational experience, they don't need to come back after the free one. Great, good for them. Love that, because they're going to go out there in the world and make magic happen. But it really opens up the door. And then if someone is ready, if it is right, they move forward in working with me in some capacity. And so I found that the investment is so worth it for both of us that I keep doing it. It's just something that's not done a lot in our industry because there's a lot of people who only need a session or two. And so it doesn't make sense. It'd kind of like be like going to a doctor and never paying, right? For your first session, be like, well, you might only see them a couple of times, specialists, right? And so as a result, it's very, very, very few people do this. But what I've found is that if you really help people and they don't need to see you all the time, you can charge enough to make that work. And you can offer a lot of other services that are very inexpensive that they can move forward in their journey, even if they don't have the budget to pay for you one-on-one. And all of it works together for the better of everybody. So this is back to my main character energy and my client's main character energy and your main character energy. As you're watching this, you might never send a dime my way. But guess what? The universe aligned itself to get you here today watching this show. Because that's what you needed. Otherwise, you'd already have clicked off and gone somewhere else. So, this morning, I get this feeling like right before this show, my plants have something. I want one of my plants wants to be featured today. So I go run out to talk to my plants. And yes, I do talk to my plants. And I'm not feeling any of them. I'm like, oh, I just thought, none of them feel like they need to be a part of today. Now I could have looked at that and said, oh, I mixed up and didn't understand right. But that's not the case at all. What the case was is that at that point, I have a dog, my sister has a cat. And when the cat's out, the cat likes to slip through the doggy door, so we have to put the cover on the doggy door. Normally, she's the one who lets him in and out. My dog loves, you can hear him right now. His favorite, he's actually, thank you, universe. His main character energy decided to show up just in time to make my point. My dog loves to go out and bark at everybody in the park behind our house. That's his favorite pastime, is to run out that door and start barking at everyone. And then he runs back in and takes a nap until the next person comes through the park. So that's what he does. But the cat, if the cat goes out, the cat just slips right through the fence and goes into the park. So when my sister's out, she's the one letting the dog in and out, or letting the dog in and out when he needs to go out, so that the doggy door can stay shut, so that the cat doesn't slip out. But I encouraged her to go take a nap because she was tired. So I was like, you go take a nap. And that meant that the cat was in with me. I was like, it's okay, I'll let him in and out. But then I needed to record. And so all of a sudden I realized, oh, the cat had moved into her room. And my dog was going to end up barking and interrupting us if I did not open up that door. So my nudge to go check on the plants or see what plant needed me was just a nudge to go outside. As I did that, I recognized the cat was there, closed the door, opened the doggy door. Dog could run in and out. I don't get interrupted on my recording. See that? One event, two interpretations. One interpretation could be, I got the message wrong. The other interpretation could be, it was simply a way to get me outside to solve another problem that was coming before it arrived. Because remember, your intuition's not linear. It has access to a lot more information than your conscious mind does. It holds every experience that's ever happened to you. It holds every experience that you've interacted with in other people's energy. It's why when I lead an event, suddenly I can stop and be like, well, this has never happened before, but I'm seeing this imagery now. That's because somebody, even if they are not physically in the room, I record 4 events a month. A lot of times no one's there because it's for my membership community who really thrives off of the recordings. They listen to the recordings when they need them. So it's not uncommon for me to facilitate one and have no one be there. And that's okay. Like if there's a bunch of people there, then it's great. We actually then can dive into personalization and questions and Q&A. And if no one's there, I just take people on a 1-hour guided visualization. It's actually about 45 minutes because I talk about herbs for about 15 minutes. And it ends up being customized. And that's how I know someone is going to watch it. Because I'm like, well, that came out of nowhere. I guess there's some sort of totally different imagery here than I'm used to. And that's how I know someone's going to watch it, because I'm channeling somebody's energy. Now, remember, in quantum physics, there is on the 10th dimension, there is a theoretical point at which all universes and all timelines are happening at the same time. So an infinite point. And I'm not a physicist, so, don't quote me on the science or anything like that. But we are starting to get an understanding of our world and how it works beyond what we can touch, see, and feel from a matter perspective. Our science has been very focused on matter in the past, but the reality is matter is really energy. It's all about movement, right? Of molecules, movement of electrons, all of that. And so as our understanding of science advances, we're starting to get a glimpse into some of how this might work, right? This world might work. Now, for my purposes, I say it doesn't matter. The reality is my life has gotten better since I live this way. My symptoms have gotten better since I live this way. It actually doesn't matter whether it's scientifically backed because I know it works for me. And I know it works for my clients, my 111 clients that I've served so far in the last year. So because I know that it works, I don't necessarily need to, have all this proof. However, it is nice to know that science is starting to catch up to understanding how some of this might possibly actually be working. And the reason why it's important to understand that time is a little bit different than what we think, is that we can tap into things that are happening in different moments and different times, different probabilities, different places for different people. And that's a much, much more effective energy pool to work with than a linear step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this morning when I was getting beckoned out to the garden, it's because some part of me knew my dog was going to want to go outside. And that might just be the part of me that knows my dog likes to go outside every day, right? Or it might be the part of me that knew, oh, there is going to be a dog coming through the park and he's going to want to go outside. He's not going to nap this whole time. Either way, I was able to anticipate something that consciously I did not have to think of. I did not have to go through step 1, 2, 3, 4 to get to 5. Now, this is why this is important. Full circle loop. This last week has been epic, crazy, awesome of following the nudges, the non-linear path to get to somewhere so incredibly beautiful. And again, if I were to have said, oh, see, I was wrong about that, I would not have been able to experience the beauty of the last week. So I really want to talk about poking around in the dark. And how do we actually go forward knowing that it wasn't that we were wrong, it's that we misinterpreted or misunderstood, or maybe we interpreted it perfectly, but we just needed an excuse to get somewhere else so that we could achieve or accomplish or experience, I'm going to say experience, this beautiful thing. And that's how miracles work. Miracles are nonlinear, guys. When have you ever witnessed a miracle that's linear? It's not a miracle then. You expected it. I took a step and then I took another step. So what were to happen if you were to take all these steps and processes, these linear, and allowed them to remold themselves into something miraculous? How much more easeful could things happen? So I am drinking leftover here from last night's workshop on presence. And it's actually the perfect tea for this, irony of all ironies. I shouldn't even say that anymore because it's not an irony. But this tea is all about being completely present in the moment. And when I say the moment contains all moments. Our linear mind, our prefrontal cortex, in the discipline, like if we're looking at discipline, control, I can hold 4 steps, I do things in step A, B, C, D. That part of our mind, if we're operating that way, can't hold all the stuff, right? It's trying to put it into a linear box so that it can hold it all. But true presence isn't holding anything. It's being present to all of it. See, my dog barking. Did I not say that? Cracks me up. So present, this tea, is about being so beautifully present in all that's unfolding around you so you can create from it. That means everything across all probabilities, across all timelines. It means that you don't need to hold any of it. And so therefore, your attention can naturally move to the things that most serve you right now. That's what this tea's for. It smells like spring. It looks like spring. It feels like emerging from the ground. There's all kind of beautiful herbs that open up your crown, your third eye, activate mild euphorics, rose petals for kind of creating safety, emotional safety, and all of it. Lots of things to soothe so that you don't have an overwhelm of the nervous system while you're taking in all of this. Have you ever just been on the road and known exactly where to move and when to move there? Like suddenly you knew, oh, there's a beautiful opening between the cars, I'm going to move over. Oh, I need to be in the left lane because I'm going to turn. And it just all kind of clicked and happened. That's because the part of you that was aware of everything, the drivers around you, the broader context, even what the drivers around you were thinking. There's a part of you that actually is tuned into that, guys. There's a part of me that's tuned into you right now, and there's a part of you that's tuned into me. But if we try to box it in to this 5% of our energy, right, we can't work with all of it. So cheers to here. The mug that got selected today was Hello Sunshine. Because that is the kind of morning I'm having. So last Friday, after I recorded the episode, a lot had been unfolding over the days prior. I'd been getting kind of nudges that my van was coming closer. Now, all along, we've been kind of feeling like March is when the van would come. January, start doing research. December would be laying groundwork, having some meetings. So that's the timeline that was kind of feeling natural and organic. Now, timelines can change. I actually am doing a workshop on December 27th. So if any of you are curious about playing with timelines, with thresholds, with transitions, I highly recommend it going into the new year. My links to my, if you go to hellojennylyn.com, there's a link to events. It'll take you right to my Eventbrite organizer page. You can see all the upcoming events. So rather than sharing individual links, just go to that page and see the events that call you. You can get tickets just to that event. You can also add on the recording if that's of interest to you, or the tea if that's of interest to you. So there's different options and packages. But the December 27th of 2025, I'm actually doing a workshop on, I'm feeling the need to tell you this. Somebody's going to be watching this in the future and wish they could have attended. By that time, I will have posted, it feels like downloads or some sort of way to get access to these. So if for some reason, just go to my website and you should be able to figure out how to download it, or I'll update this episode with links in order to be able to download it. It feels like at some point in the future, someone's going to be watching this and saying, oh, I missed that. You didn't. All of my stuff will be able to be somehow purchased, acquired, etc. And if you're a member, that's how you're going to get access to the complete library of everything I've ever recorded. With these one-word titles, really easy to locate exactly what you need. Okay, so December 27th, transitions and thresholds and timelines is what we're going to be playing with. And that's going to be how to just drop in and play with all these different probabilities. So if you are at all curious about time and how to work with time, this is going to be a super immersive experience, perfect for transitioning over the year or a season of your life or anything like that. But what I want to share today is when you're working with time, I teach people how to feel into different timelines. And as you're kind of feeling into it, you're going to feel one that's going to feel more organic or more natural. And that's just the one that is most, you're most tuned into at that moment. However, timelines can change because every time we make choices, we are then recreating timelines around that. So I've always learned to hold those timelines from the very beginning. I've been able to play with timelines very easily because I've always known to just hold them loosely, let them reorganize themselves, because sometimes what we understand shifts as we basically make choices and other people make choices. Those timelines then get reorganized around a more organic or miraculous timeline. And so that can move and shift at any point. However, I kind of had an idea of what was kind of bubbling up for timelines for the van. And so last Friday, a van came into my purview, and it felt a little rushed, if that makes sense. It didn't quite feel like the natural timeline. The budget didn't quite feel like, when I was doing the math, Like, oh, by the time I do all my add-ons and I have state tax because I'm crossing state lines from a private party seller, by the time I did the whole math, I'm like, it's going to be at the very top end of my budget, which means, draining my life savings, right, for this, except for my retirement. And I'm being honest with everybody because I think this is the real stuff, guys. When you live intuitively, you're really working with, okay, I have a decision to make. I can follow my yes, and my yes takes me to draining my bank account. Or I can follow my yes, and my yes takes me to actually saying, this is not the yes is to wait or to adjust my budget or to move it down and to conserve. And both can be true depending on where you're at and what you're learning about your relationship to material things. So there are times in my journey where the yes meant enjoying a simple life. It meant purging tons of things. And then with that, my spending just naturally went down without force. And it meant just really accepting I can live on very little. I had a time when I was at corporate where I was making really good money, like really decent money. And even as a single mom, and my yes was a $200,000 house. My yes was a minivan that I owned outright. I had no debt. That is, guys, how I have been able to have the flexibility to create this product business, is because I had money in the bank, because I went through periods where I lived on $50,000 to $60,000 a year, raising 2 kids and paying child support. Like, I want to be really clear. I was raising 2 kids. I was the primary breadwinner. I was paying child support. But because I lived such a simple, beautiful life, and I made more than the average person at that point in my life, I was able to stash away a decent amount, which is what I've been using to essentially reinvent myself over the last several years. And I'm very grateful for that, right? I'm super grateful. Not all of us are learning the same lessons or experiencing the same things. I also went through periods of my life where I had nothing to my name. So I just want to be really clear, where I had to learn to be happy with very little, and where the money was really tight, and where I was rebuilding. Post-divorce, everything was cleaned out. Everything was gone, right? I still remember I had, I think, $3,000 in my checking account, and I had to get an apartment with that and figure out how to make ends meet, and I did, right? And so there was I've been through all the extremes and back again, right? So there are different periods of our life where we're being asked to develop a different relationship with money. And for someone, this is really activating them right now. So let that come up. In fact, we're just going to be with that energy for a moment, because I can feel it right here in the center of the sternum, right in the heart space, in the lungs. So just take a deep breath. I'm going to slow down my speech a little bit just to facilitate your discharge of that. And then what I'm seeing is a circle around us of different, and I'm seeing it as composites, but several people are having this experience. So if this feels calling, if you're feeling called to this, step into this little detour we're going to take. There's a number of your other moments in life standing around you, moments that you've had to work through a thing with money, right? Or with material things, wealth, abundance. I'm not even going to use the word abundance or wealth right now. It just feels like more your relationship with money, when it felt like more of a constraint or a resource that you didn't have enough of, or were working through how to use. And I want you to sit with those parts of you and walk into them. Like, imagine that you're just walking into each one at a time, and you're welcoming them back home. Some of you are putting their hand on their chest and saying the Ho'oponopono prayer. I never pronounced that right, guys. It's a Hawaiian prayer. It's really beautiful. But you're essentially having some sort of gratitude, forgiveness, love for that part of you, whatever feels good. I like that prayer because it's a friend of mine, Morgan Wider, taught it to me. My coach has reminded me of it. It regularly comes back into my purview. In fact, last night I did essentially, I think, 5 minutes of it, where I just chanted it over and over again, because it was like clearing so many different layers of things from my past, from my field. But it's really, I'm sorry, I forgive you, I thank you, I love you. Some version of that. But really, it's just this aspect of honoring the parts of you, the experiences you've had, that are maybe ready to come home, so that you can reintegrate that part of your energy, that part of yourself, and live more wholly and completely without that feeling of baggage, if that makes sense. That they're natural, beautiful parts of you, that there's nothing to be ashamed of, nothing to be afraid of. So I see some of you just putting your hands on their chest and thanking them, honoring them. And then welcoming them back home. There we go. Can feel some reintegration happening. It feels less stiff. It just feels more together. Okay, so here we are. Went on a tangent about money, but I think it's important because we go through different phases in our relationship with money, and it's important for you guys to know what's on the line for me as I'm going through these decisions. There is if I'm at the top end of my budget, it's going to be figuring out how to put food on the table for my daughter and I. I mean, this is the very real thing. Like, now I can crack open my retirement. I'm comfortable doing that if I have to. If I get the call, I will do it. But the reason why I want to talk about this is about like a year and a half ago, I got a message that I was going to be, it was going to be tighter than I was used to and comfortable with, because that's the growth point that I need in my life right now. And that to follow my dreams, to build this thing that I'm creating, it would be tighter. But my growth would come and not feeling constricted while it was tighter. So it wouldn't be in like figuring out how to cut or conserve or any of that. It was going to all be, how do I live a luscious, full, abundant life where I don't feel like I'm shaving off anything while I'm getting to a tighter place, so that I can welcome in and just a whole new level of abundance than I've ever experienced before. So I wasn't necessarily surprised. That message came directly to me. It came through a friend of mine on my personal board of advisors who's an intuitive as well. I've gotten it kind of through multiple channels and reinforced it on a regular basis. So I had like a suspicion or a knowing that this was kind of going to be the part of my path. But it doesn't change that every time you dip into it, you're healing, right? Different parts of you that don't like feeling so tight. Like, okay, I got this much in the bank. I'm feeling like the need to tell you guys about business performance right now. It's feeling very important. So I built my first business successfully because I was really good at creating sustainable revenue and profits from the out of the very gate. When I started my business, I had some buffer and savings, so I knew I had like a runway to ramp up my business. But I didn't have the same amount of runway as people who are in a marriage or a shared relationship or don't have kids, that kind of thing. So I had kids, I was divorced, so had a household, kids, paying child support. So I knew that runway, I had a simple life, which was really good, right? That really helped me. But I knew that the runway to make profits was not the same as other people. So I knew it would be like, I had to be profitable within a year. And by profitable, I mean having a full-time income in the first year, like a good, solid 70,000 a year income, right? You're nothing like crazy, but I needed to be making enough profits to pay a full-time salary by the end of the first year. So I did that. But how you grow a business when you're doing that is about, especially because I was not looking at creating individual larger clients. I knew I wanted scale in terms of volume because I didn't like feeling attached to one specific client. Like if that client and if it's not going well, suddenly I can't leave, they can't leave because so much of my revenue is dependent on them. I didn't want that situation. Again, I'd worked for corporate for so long. I really wanted to be in a situation where I had 20, 30, 40 clients and I could bless and release anyone where it was for the highest and best good of both of us to do so. And so I was focused on creating a model that scaled. I also knew that that would be easier for me to hire people to do. So if you have many clients that you serve in a small capacity, it's a lot easier to hire a team to support it. I also know it'd be easier to sell. Selling your company is so much more effective when you have scale and volume, because then it is less dependent on you as the founder to grow or do that work. So I knew all these tenants, and I also knew the budgets of the people I was working with. They weren't very high. I was targeting an underserved market of people that did not have the same budget as other people did. So I really focused on that and created that business. So I made, I think my first year in business, $78,000 was what my personal tax return said. That included my, my profit and then my wages from the company. So if you added those together, I was making around that. My adjusted gross income was. So that's a pretty successful year one for again, a conservative growth business. I was not a 10X kind of, that was not what I was looking for. I was looking to create sustainable growth where I could make an impact, love what I do, not kill myself, and make a decent living. So I was, that was great. But when I went into this new world, I knew that that was not what I was being called to do. I wasn't being called to play safe the same way that I was then. So I, again, just feel this need to tell you guys that last month I lost money. Like this year, I'm actually going to be negative. I will have some income on my tax returns, but that's because I had my last payments from the sale of my business that expired on July 1. So, maybe I'll have, 30,000 or something. And then that's it. So I am ushering my child through her last year of high school, sending her out into the world, living an amazing life. But the reason why is because, yes, I do have one-on-one clients, but all of that money is going back into producing teas, marketing, because this is a volume business, right? This is not about I sell you something and you do something. What I'm building is so much more sustainable and residual, but it also requires a lot larger investment. And I'm also growing. I had no problem selling services, but even now, I have no problem selling services. I can walk into a room. I went to a charity event and introduced myself to the person sitting next to me, and with my 30-second, she's like, oh, what do you do? And I gave her my 30-second pitch, and she's like, let's meet next week. I want to work with you. And we did. So that's it's very easy for me to kind of move through the services cycle. But the product cycle, by making something that you can use at home, guys, that can change and rock your world, is so different. And anyone who's worked with product knows that. There is no room for hesitancy in this world, not a single bit. So I thought, and everybody else around me thought, I was decisive and I didn't hesitate. Guess what? I did. I've been hesitating for years. I have tea samples I carry around with me, and I'll have this moment where I'll meet someone and I'll shake their hand and I'll be like, you need the Illuminate sample I have with me. And I pause for 2 seconds, guys. We lock eyes, we smile, the conversation ends, and they walk away, and I lost my window. There's no room for hesitation in this world. And when I hesitate, I send the universe a message. Please hesitate in bringing me new clients and people that want my teas. And I can feel it. I can feel it in the traction in the market. I can feel it in the sales. So everything I'm doing right now is working through releasing that hesitancy and just boldly going after it without judgment and saying, it's okay if someone wants it or not, it doesn't matter. I know what I've created is epically awesome. I just had someone call me this week and say, game changer. They bought 20 bags of this tea actually here for their clients, and they're already getting rave feedback that their clients are saying it was amazing. Favorite part of the gift basket. So I am, I know that this is powerful stuff that I've created. Now it's all up to me. And it's not up to me in terms of the amount of work that I do. It's up to me with releasing hesitancy. And that's what the last week for me was about. Okay, I'm getting that I need to go deeper into the money side. This is really funny. Someone out there needs to hear this. So anyways, RV, if I go for a van, if I go at the top end of my budget, it means I'll have basically a certain amount to live on until my daughter leaves the home. And it will be cutting it close because it's around, we're December now and she leaves, well, we don't know, but if she starts college in August, that's another, 9-10 months. I think my lease is signed through September. So I have another Jan, Feb, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, right? So I have another like 8 to 9 months then. And so I know that it's going to be tight, and there's a possibility I would have to crack my retirement, which is something I'd like to not do, right? But I also know that if I get the nudge, I will do it. Because when I don't hesitate, things happen. So these are the types of fears that I was working through last week. So Friday, van comes into my field, and I get this feeling that this van is one of several possible vans, but that regardless of whether or not it's the van, it's good for me to go out to California to see it. And so I actually didn't have to rearrange my schedule. That was beautiful. I looked at my schedule and realized, okay, after yoga, if we change this plan we had after, which ironically, as soon as I reached out to the group to tell them, they had already made other plans and couldn't do that after event anyway. See, this is how it works, guys. If you follow that main character energy, everyone else's main character energy is already synced up to what's best for you. What is best for you is best for the collective when you truly understand what's best for you. This is where people often get it wrong. They think that their light can't shine bright in other people's lights too, but they can. When I make a decision to cancel, I know if I've tapped into this higher energy, it's also for the highest and best good of the other person. And oftentimes when I reach out to check in, they've already said, oh my God, thank you. Do you know the number of times I hear people say that? Oh my gosh, thank you. This was a really bad day for me and I was trying to figure out, I was feeling really forced. So let yourself really check in with what feels best, because when you're following those nudges, miracles happen, and those miracles benefit other people too, not just you. Remember that. There's an entire orchestration process happening between ourselves that's below the surface of what we consciously understand. It's underneath the iceberg. So last week this happened, and I get the nudge to go out to California, that it's a really good process for me, that this van and I do have a connection. It's also totally okay if it falls through. It isn't the only van. So I'm talking to somebody at yoga, explaining what's going on, and all of a sudden I'm like, and this van is one of them in my field, and we're going out to see it, but really we're going out to California. And I got a strong sense that actually you're not seeing the van anymore, you're just going out to California. It was like the thing shifted just a little bit. And that was because it had. I got a text an hour or two later from her saying, I basically just said, don't worry about reaching out to the owner. Wait until you're about to leave. It's all going to work out. Get a text, in the afternoon when we're just in the process of packing up saying the van sold. See, I knew it, right? And that was okay. Had I said I was wrong about that van, or I didn't act fast enough, now I'm creating judgment for the situation. I'm now constraining how miraculously things can unfold. But because I recognize that this is not a linear path, I was able to, I'm not going to say predict, but be in the moment of what was unfolding, back to presence, and recognize that it was all actually in my highest and best good. So here's all the things that happened because of that. We went out to California. While I was in California, I got the message to work from my phone, to work wherever I was. Basically, I took down walls in resistance I was having that, I need to work now. I need to get out my laptop. I need to, that all started to dissolve as I went, I get to record this thing. That would be a really good reel. Let me figure out how to actually edit videos on my phone. And let me start posting. I have my best reel yet, guys. I haven't done social media, and I have a push-pull relationship. But if I'm gonna be out there doing teas and teaching people and doing workshops, you don't make money off of that for a single person coming to you, right? It's a volume thing. And so I need to be everywhere, right? I need to be on social media, I need to be here on YouTube, I need to be in stores, I need to be talking to people, I need to be in the community. I want to be serving, because in that service, people will find that, oh, I'm actually really drawn to this thing, so I'm gonna go do that thing. And it'll take care of itself, right? But I have to be out there everywhere serving. This YouTube channel is an act of service. It's also main character energy. I'm serving myself because I'm getting over hesitancy. I'm getting out there. I'm talking about what's happening without a filter, but I'm also serving you, because whoever's gotten through this 40 minutes is getting something out of this, is having their own energetic experience, is being inspired to live differently. We are serving each other right now. It's beautiful. Like, you are serving me, I'm serving you. And so that's what this is all about. It's all about this beautiful act of reciprocal service that's naturally happening when we just get out there and show up in our full light. Grounding and centering the energy a little bit. Need some water too. Need to hydrate. So, water was a big part of the energy being in the ocean. I'm definitely feeling a call to the coast for the next chapter of my life. So, living on the road, living in the van, I feel like there will be a oceanside studio apartment in my future. Don't know exactly when, kind of have an idea of maybe where, but I definitely feel like there's going to be some coastal periods coming in for the next period. The desert was so beautifully grounding. It's still such a part of my life for this healing period. And now it feels like I'm ready to kind of really work with water. And so I'm excited for what this next period of my life entails. So I connected with the energy out there. I connected with the water. We met people, so I got a strong, you're going to camp here. So this is how this works. Okay, again, following this whole analogy I want to give you guys is, imagine that you need to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. And the lights are off, it's pitch black, you can't see anything. Maybe you have a blindfold on. Let's make it even up a little higher. How do you feel around, right? You feel into the dark, and then you feel for the softness, the opening. Okay, there's nothing in front of me right now. I'm going to walk this direction. You kind of generally know where the bathroom is, but you don't lunge for it. You kind of feel through it. And then as long as you're doing that, it flows and you get to the bathroom really effectively, etc. So when we're moving into this world of being led by intuition, it's a little bit sometimes like feeling around in the dark. And you're feeling for softness, opening, right? So everything for me is spatial. So it's a direction, feeling like, oh, I feel more softness or less resistance if we turn right instead of left. Let's go right. And so a big thing, the theme of the last week has been just follow the yes. Don't turn energy on if it's a not yes. Just really follow your yes and find your yes. So I've been finding the openings and going there. Where's the opening? Where's the opening? So more and more of my energy is getting allocated towards the openings and less towards where the blocks are. And so going out to California, we worked out so many things. I got some more requirements figured out. There's so many things I learned about a van, what I need to do. I had Claude, my AI system. I've been feeding him information on my requirements, on my budget, etc. So now I can just send him a link to a listing and he can process through it and tell me all the gaps. He can do market analysis for me. Like, of course, I'm going to cross-reference that. Always, by the way, cross-reference with AI. But AI does so much synthesis. It can, if you are putting in the variables, AI can do such a great job of saying, okay, answering specific questions I have. Okay, can you look at this listing and tell me if it meets all my requirements? Nope, the bed length is too short. You're not going to have enough room to stand up, right? This is what you're looking at. Here's all the gaps in your requirements. And then I can say, okay, I want a budget to have these 3 things retrofitted or upgraded. It can give me then, he gave me an entire set of questions for solar analysis. He's like, well, this, and this is the cost of the labor, parts, etc. However, it depends on if they have the right wiring gauge and if they have this. So here's a list of questions I'd ask them to kind of refine your budget even more. And then I said, okay, imagine everything's at the top end. Is this going to be in my budget? So these are the types of things I've been able to work with AI on as a creative partner. to just help me shape, if that makes sense. Again, I'm doing independent research, all of that, but it really does take the edge off. So I worked out a ton of like kinks there. What's really a requirement versus what is just going to take care of itself. Really sat with the chassis a little bit, kind of understood where the market's at for different chassis. I really got super clear that where my bed needs to be, seating arrangements, what type of decor calls to me. So now I've really kind of narrowed in on some of that. I did a bunch of research on toilets and solar systems and batteries and upgrading different things and what my needs are, air conditioning, heat, all that stuff. So, so much value from that experience. But I also cracked open my brokerage account, got my money transferred. Okay, in order to write a cashier's check, I'm going to have other accounts open. So I kind of worked through greasing so many different skids through this process that I'm now more prepared when the van does come. Okay, so all of that right there was super supportive. And I still remember being on the phone with my financial advisor, because I have my life savings is in brokerage accounts. So I broke it open. And I paused, and he said, "Do you need more time?" And I said, "No, I already know the answer is yes to breaking these open. I've already felt the yes." I said, "It's just my own fears and resistance coming up right now. So I'm giving you the yes, and I will process my fears separately later." And as soon as we got off the phone, I did, and they moved very easily. I moved and shifted the energy of those fears. It took very, very little time. Because I knew the yes was there. Same thing with my hair. I had the same experience with my hair. I knew I wanted the extensions. It was perfectly like aligned and ordained, the experience. I stumbled my way into a salon that happened to have my extensions in stock, in my color, in my texture, like unheard of stuff. It was a childhood dream of mine to have long hair. And so I knew the answer was yes. I'd gotten chills when she offered extensions. But then when it came to actually giving her the final decision, I felt the wall up again. That was my own fear. I already knew the answer hadn't changed. It was yes. So I gave her the answer that I knew, and then went back and said, okay, now I'm going to sit with the fears, and I'm going to heal the layers that came up in that final minute, the hesitancy. Because that's really what I'm healing through right now, is hesitancy in so many different areas of my life. That's all. As I unlock it, it's completely increasing my level of flow and work and life and money, all of this stuff, guys. So that is like when we follow the nudges and we trust that miracles are happening and we can start to see that and feel that, we release the hesitancy. We start taking action on what we know without proof. So back to the van, back to California. Total game changer. Complete game changer. So I came home and I'm now ready and equipped in a whole different way for the van. I've worked through layers of financial questions and fears that needed to get worked through. And there's more that are going to surface over the next couple of months, but that's okay. This is what I'm healing right now, and it's going to unlock so much abundance in my business. I reconnected with water. Water is so important and so beautiful. Water is the flow, guys. So if you can work with water, it really represents the flow of things coming to you and out of you, right? You don't hang on to it. You don't grab it. It flows through your fingers. So water was a really powerful energy for me to work with. In fact, at last night's thing, I got the rain card came up. And now I'm here. And I'm not hesitating. So what is it this week that you can feel your yes and take bold action, knowing that the clarity will come later about what role it's serving in your journey? Where is there hesitancy that you can heal? That'd be my question for this week. We're in this beautiful space of reprieve at the end of the year, a moment where we can drop in and be fully present. So use this time, use the space that you have to heal the hesitancy. And see what kind of bold realities you can create for 2026 and beyond. Cheers to a beautiful day of sunshine ahead. Actually, there's something else. I was just about to hang up and I got some, not hesitancy, I got a moment, a nudge. My yes is over here. Something else to do for you guys. So I want us to just close with some energy shifting. Energy integration actually is what I'm getting. If you're feeling called, just let that energy swirl and come back home. Let any pieces of you that are out there come back to this moment and land softly in your belly. So you can activate your powers of creation and working with what's happening in this moment, without the need to judge its worthiness, because you are worthy. And every nudge you get is leading you somewhere. And when you can let those nudges thread themselves together in a non-linear way, you become the receiver of miracles, the creator of miracles. You are the miracle. Whew, that feels better. Everything's back to center again. So now, you have an amazing day.